Okay. Hi guys, welcome to the next RisingStack stream. I guess this is the fourth one. So I am getting better at this, I think at least. I will try to pay attention to the chat, and if you are not here in the previous, I don't know if any of the previous ones, then I am doing a little React application, and I will do a 5-minute intro. So one of my colleagues, he's called Robbie, he's somewhere outside in the office, made an API server, and he has a nice blog post about it at the RisingStack blog. And the idea is that this API server is a Dockerized process, and you can do all sorts of things with this. It has products, it has protected endpoints. Yeah, it's a fourth stream. And it has login, authentication, so you can write UIs in any kind of framework that you would like to, and it is an ideal backend to test out the capabilities of different front-end frameworks. And currently I am working mostly with React, so I decided to do a little React application for this thing. And the final goal is to have a small application, but an application that is well-rounded and that is prepared for all the edge cases. So in the final stream, I plan to showcase it with slow connection, offline connection, no connection. I plan to showcase how it integrates with the browser history, how you really cannot break it even if you try it very hard, how you can share data with others, what happens if you share protected URLs with not logged in users and these kind of things. And we will spend most of the time today with designing these software things. And I also plan to do some code refactoring, which won't be that exciting. And I will do the protected routes now. Yeah, let's check the UI. If you were not here before, it's a super simple UI. You have products, these ones here. And here at the top, you can search for products. These are done by Faker. Sometimes it generates pretty nice names. And the idea is that you have to log in. And if you were here last time, I couldn't really log in and edit the products. And it turned out that in order to edit the products, you have to be an admin user. And there is a built-in admin user in the API server. So now I am logging in as an admin user. We will have to change this whole login process because, as you see, it's terrible. I don't really know if I have logged in already, so I guess we will start with that. And then after that, if I go here and I try to edit something, and I reload just to check if it's saved, then it's edited. So for now, it's a super basic application. I won't showcase it here, but I spend most of the time with making it work with offline connection and slow connection. And so yeah, you have seen there is a lot of polishing needed to do, and maybe if you have time, I also plan to do some snack bar notifications, which are the little black boxes I will show you that you have on your mobile usually, about being offline and going to protected endpoints and these kind of things. So I guess we can get started. Just a little primer about the code. This is the current code that I have. And I also have it on GitHub, and I plan to, it's called generic concrete salad, because that was the name of one of the products. And then, so you can find it here on GitHub. I did a comment about that on the stream. And for now, it's not super well structured, but it's pretty simple still. The stack is Material UI, because I was lazy to do the styling, because that's not the important part here. And for the API, I use Axios. It's my favorite one, because it works everywhere, and it basically does everything that I need usually. And yeah, Lodash, I just use it from time to time. And this one is it is my own stack. I still couldn't open source it, but I am working on it a lot. I am just polishing it. It has routing and platform integrations and state management inside it. I won't get into details now. If you're curious about the state management part, you can check it. It's called React Easy State. and it's already open source. The main idea of this stack is to be super simple in exchange of some elegancy, I could say. So it doesn't have immutable data. I usually don't do dependency injection with context and these kind of things. I just do a lot of global stuff. I have mutable data. So theoretically, it's not so easily testable, but because it's a lot simpler, you have to write a lot less code. It's just, in my opinion, it's worth it. It's easier to maintain it, and you will see it in a second. So what I want to start with is this little form here, because right now it can edit products, but if we go back to the other page, and then after that we will revamp the UX and try to add the new product, you will see that it should fail, because according to the API server docs, we don't have enough data. And yeah, it just failed right there. 400 codes, perfect. API server is very nicely done. We see that there is a price required. So let's check what we need for editing products. And we don't just want to edit, we want to add a new product to the list. And as you can see, we have a name here, a description here, and ingredients is optional. We will just leave it for now. We need a price, a currency, and we have to check if it's available now. So let's just, this will be a bit of a copy paste. Oh, sorry, I don't want to do this one. I want to do this one. So as you can see, this is the form here. I already have a few text fields for the description, for the name, and then I will need something called the price. Should be a bit faster. Okay, so, and the label should be price for this one. My computer needs some time to get used to the streaming. And this one is not a multi-line, and the type here should be a number, and this one should be price. And as you can see, this is typical React pattern. I have a common onChange handler for everything, and it decides what to do based on the event target name. This one is coming from my own stack. It's basically, it's a mutable local state. Instead of having set state, you can just have this store, and then you can just do basic JavaScript with it without worrying about anything, and it will render when needed. I won't do this now, but this is a neat little hack. You can even simplify it more if you do it like this. Because of course in React you still have the bubbling characteristic of events, so I could just remove all the onChanges and move it to the top scope. But because I will add some other type of fields, I don't want to do that now, because I would have to do if-else's inside my change handler, and I don't want that. So we have a type now, and we are going to need a checkbox. So I'm heading over to the material UI, and I have the comments here on my phone, so I'm checking that. And I'm checking checkboxes. Component demo, perfect. I just started to use this for the streaming, but I really start to like it. So if you don't have any specific needs to style it, to not brand it as a Google stuff, then I think you should use Material UI. It's pretty nice. So we will need one with label. So I see that we will need a checkbox and the form control label. So let's just import the checkbox and also the form control label, and more copy pasting. It should be something like this. So at the very end we are going to have checkbox, and check should be Let's check it here. So we are having a price here. I am extracting data from the store that I have. Price and available, if I remember correctly. If you have any questions about the code that I already have, just feel free to ask him, because I won't explain everything now that I did in the previous ones, but I can if so it should be available, and on change we are going to do this.on check change, I guess, and the value. I am kind of misusing checkboxes now because I won't have a value, and the indeterminate should be a way. If you don't know about this, there is a third. It's true in the native DOM too. There is a third state of checkboxes when you have this like horizontal line. Okay, and on change is here, and we are going to need a name just to make this nice and general. So it should be again available. A little bit of boilerplate here. And we're going to need an on-check change. So on-check change, and instead of having even the targeted value, we will just do checked, because again this is a property that's already, it's also available in DOM checkboxes. React is just mimicking that with the virtual DOM. And inside the product shell, I am using this to document what kind of data I will have, and I also use it to avoid an error. There is a pretty annoying characteristics of React, is that if you have controlled components and the value is undefined, it will just complain and think that you are switching between controlled and uncontrolled components. So I have to set everything to an empty string at first. Or I could just pass him default values here, I guess, but let's not do that. Let's just do this. So there is a price, should be, let's do it for 0 for now. And currency should be USD, I guess. I won't have an input item for this for now. And available should be undefined. We want it to be indeterminate the first time. Yeah, let's check what we just did. I'm using create React app, so it's live reloading now. This one was not correct. It shouldn't be secondary, it should be available, just to be creative. And let's get back here. Okay, so we have this nice little form, and if you check it now, it should be some, I don't know, let's name it. We want to buy an apple, and it's nice, and it's kind of pricey, and it's available. And if you add the product and then search for an apple, then we got the nice apple that's nice and pricey. And if you do something like this and then edit the product, cool. Okay, so this part is working now. And let's check where we can improve. Yes, I see an error kind of here that we can improve on. And not anymore. So, as I promised, I will try to do subtle UX things. So this is the first one. We will have to change the routing to a little bit. But if you come here and if you add the new product, why is it an apple? This is totally messed up. Just a second. New product. Yeah, so you try to add a new product and say that this one should be a peer this time. And it's, again, this one is a nice peer. And this is less pricey, because apples are awesome. And I add the product. And you see that the URL is not updated. And the product is already added. I want to share this thing with my colleague. That's, look how awesome product I made. And he gets the URL, he goes to another page, and opens that page. And and this is not the page that I wanted to share. So let's just update the URL there. This is a so I was very keen to implement it in my framework because this was a huge pain point for me back when I had to do this by hand. So here we just have this params object. It's a global object. As I said, I have a lot of global stuff, and it can be mutated and it is auto-reflected in the URL. So if I just these are async functions. So if I just await the save product, and after the save product I say that the ID of the parameters should be, yes, this one is returning a product, we will see if it does. And the ID of the parameter should be the product.id. Let's just console log what it returns, because maybe I didn't implement the try. So what happens here is that we are sending the product to the server is augmenting the product with an ID, it returns the augmented product, and then we are saving the ID in the URL query parameters if everything goes right. ID is not defined because we want this to be a product. Hi, I'm glad you like it. So router is going to be the next one. So let's just test it again. Sorry for repeating the same stuff a lot of times. And now we add the product. And it returned. Yeah, okay, we have to check the API layer. This one is not working for some reason. So I have a 3-layer structure. This is the view layer, and then I have a store layer here where I have the logic. We will just do a little refactor here. I checked how people use the library that I made, and I found some pretty nice patterns that people do. So I will refactor to reflect that. Here I forgot to return what the API returned to me, of course, because it is so simple I wouldn't have to make this an async function, but still I think it's nice to leave the async here in this case, because it suggests at a glance that hey, this is an async stuff, because without this you can't know if this is returning a promise or not. With this you at least give a hint that this one is async. Why else would you do this? And then let's check the API layer. So here you have, and here we are returning the data. So I guess we fixed it. Let's just, yes. I'm tired of typing, so now it's just, yes, and you see that I added the new product, and now right after finishing the product addition, and right after the networking returns with a success, it just adds the ID to the end of the query parameters, and if I try to share it with someone, then it won't get to the, it will get to the right product, and then they can just go on and edit it again, and then share it again. So this is some subtle edge case that that should be covered. So the basic idea is that always reflect every primitive inside the query parameters that is meant to be shareable. And then reflect the primitives that are for personalization in the the local storage to be persisted between sessions. So we just use the platform really. Okay, so what's next? So when I started to play around, I forgot about this, but I think that the routing is not the best now. For example, I am logged in. This is not the routing, we will get to the routing in a second. I am logged in and it still says that I should log in, so let's check that one first. Little UI thing. So let's get to the API layer. No, sorry, let's get to the navbar. Let's start it at the upper layer and then go down and see what's up. And as you can see, it always displays that I should log in. So what I should do here is have a ternary, and if I am logged in, then display something like logout. That's general UX here. So for that, we are going to need a login and the logout function. This one will be a pretty dummy function, I could say that. We will see in a second. So what the logout will do is that, yeah, let's just cover the login very quickly. So when you log in, of course you do the networking, you say that I want to log in with this login data, you have the password and the email, I guess, here. And after it returns with some user data and the token. I return the user data for the store layer, and I prefer to handle the authentication management in the API layer here, because I think it belongs here. So I store the token at two places. I store it at the API instance here. So after this request, every request will have that token inside the headers. The server expects it in this format. And I also store it in this little object here, which is a wrapper for the local storage. Again, it's coming from my little thingy. And basically, because it's a wrapper over the local storage, it looks and feels like it's basically a synchronous normal object that you can do anything with, but it is persisted between sessions. So if I have the token here, and if I go away from the page and come back to the page, the storage will be the same exact in-memory object after I load the page. It's just a tiny helper. So when I log out, I should delete it from everywhere. I think it's okay to use the delete word. Some people never use delete because of the performance impacts, but it won't matter. So I'm deleting it. I have a logout function now, but let's just also add it here, just for having a nice structure. But this is kind of a boilerplate. I'm not sure that I should be doing this. But anyway, let's just await API logout, because why not? And we should also have a little is logged in here, and it should be basically, we need a little API for that one too. So export function is logged in. For now, we will make this super simple. It will just check if there is a token in the storage object. So it's not undefined basically. And here, this one will be API dot is logged in for the initial value, and that's it, I guess. Okay. So now we have a simple logout mechanism, and we have the network layer and the API layer ready. So we can just go to the navbar that we started to edit, and do we have the App Store imported? Yeah, we have the App Store here, and just do it in the React way. So distract the is logged in from the App Store. We are going to refactor this in a second a little bit, as I mentioned. And here we don't want to do a login. Instead, we want to check if here is logged in. And let's just do null for now. Let's just test it. So if we are logged in, it should be a dummy logout for now. Otherwise, it should be a link to the login screen. And I prefer to do it with a slash. I won't go into depths now, but just like with the actual URLs, if you start it with a slash, it starts the routing from the root level. If you start it without a slash, it does relative routing from the current depth of the router. I will just do the library is not really documented yet, so I will just do docs about this one. And I will have the time to do that. Okay. Yeah, it's still reloading. So you can see we have this little logout now. And we didn't implement the logout yet. We are logged in. Let's do that. So for the logout, we want to do two things. We are going to need just a span, I think. Should be enough. We don't need any styling here. We are already inside the button. And on click, we want to log out. We want to have logout here. And we are going to need a logout function. Let's name this on logout to match with the other thing. So let's have an on logout. Because basically we want to log out. So for now, let's just call appstore.logout and be content with that. And then after that, I think it will be a better UX to maybe route to somewhere after you are logged out. We will check how it works now. So let's see what we have now. If we log out, this on logout. Okay, I just messed up something. Let's check if this one is called already. Okay, should be reloading. Yes, the live reloading is a bit slower than it usually is. So let's just log in with the admin user. And somewhere it's not updating, but I will check it in a second. But if I reload it, it should be in roll logout now. Yeah, so the issue is somewhere. Oh yeah, I know what the issue is. Of course, I never switch there is no date, like this library, the React Easy Stack, it doesn't add anything to the language. It just lets you do basic JavaScript. And it has the reactivity for the components, but it doesn't do any data binding here. So I just set the is logged in to the default value here, and I never change it after that. So of course it's not reacting to changes because nothing is changing here. There is no binding between these values. So let's just do appstore.isLoggedIn equals false when we log out. And when we log in, it should be appstore.isLoggedIn equals true. It could be made a little bit more elegant by turning this into a property getter and proxying the storage value. We might do it a little bit later, but for now I am okay with this. And if you check it, sometimes I use appstore and sometimes I use this here. I probably shouldn't use this. This one is an object. It doesn't matter if you have the direct object reference or you use the this. There is one little neat reason that you want to use the direct reference is that if I use this and pass this method as a callback, it will just break because it doesn't have the this. But if I do it this way, it has the exact same functionality, but it won't break if it's passed as a callback. Okay, so now it should work, I guess. We are logging out. It switched because we are not logged in now. The autofill is messed up here somewhere. Okay, and it logs us in. I think there is one more thing to do. It's not a good UX to just remain on the login screen after you are logged in. So if I know it correctly, the default screen is the product list. So we should just go to the product list probably, or just the default screen. So if I go back to the navbar, and after the logout, we should just have a programmatic routing. We already have root here. Again, routing is just like the query parameters and local storage. Routing is a global thing. The URL is a global thing. I am not injecting it in as props or these kind of things. There is a single global root function that you can call from anywhere, and it just routes. So we want to go back to the project root, to the default page. And that should be enough. This one is not an async function, we don't wait for it. It could be an async function, but it's super simple for us. So again, I did not want to do that for the login, for the log. How is it now? Let's check it again. I'm a bit confused what I want to do. So admin, logging out. That's not cool. I don't want to root here. I want to root on the login, and I don't want to go to the login screen. I want to go to the default view of the whole application after logging in. Oh, I totally messed this up, sorry. I confused the buttons with each other. So this is the login button. This is here to go to the login screen. And what I wanted to do is that after I type in everything, I want to trigger a routing on this button here. So let's head over to the login screen and let's do the same. So we just import the same global root function. And on login, this one is again an async function. So we can just await the login and do the same for register. And after each of these, if they are successful, we just want to route to the default page of the application, I guess. We could change this to route to somewhere else later, but for now, let's just stick with this and let's see if it plays out nicely. So again, await, we don't want to route until we know for sure that the login was successful. And if you check it now, again, I will check the autofill in a second because this one is annoying. So if I log in now, it logs in and it goes to the default view. Okay, and then if I log out, for now I think it's okay to remain on whatever view you are on. What this should do is, this one is not a protected route, so if I log out here, it's totally okay to remain here. What I have to implement is that if I'm on a protected route, this one, I shouldn't even be able to navigate here right now, and if I am on this route and I log out while I am on this page, it should just push me away from here and give me a little notification. So we are going to do the protected route first, then we are going to do notifications, and then we are going to do this third pushing away if you are logging out while you are on the protected page thing. And then we have all the edge cases covered. The last thing that we will have to check is what if someone shares a protected page with another user that is not logged in, what fallback you actually display, what should I tell the user. And then we are really done with everything. The store. Yeah, so let's just, you can actually play around with this. As I said, the storage is not the store. Let's just check it here. So as I said, this one is not yet open sourced, but for state management, it has two functions. It has view and it has store. And it's already open source. It's called React Easy State. It's here and it's documented. It's super simple. And the main idea is that if you're familiar with MobX, it's basically a simpler MobX without all the edge cases. The base idea is that you should be able to define stores by wrapping objects. I'm not going to write this down, I will just do it. So by wrapping objects inside this store. This one becomes a reactive store. And then after that, it doesn't matter how you mutate this store. If you are using this store, the properties of this store, or nested properties, or inherited properties, anything, inside components, like in case of the, let's see, do we have, yeah, it will be the product list, for example. And the product list, you see, I use the app store.products here. Whenever the app store.products is changed, this one will re-render, and it will always be minimal. So because of this, it knows that if the array is replaced totally, it has to re-render. But then after that, you see that we are actually mapping on the product. So because of this, it knows that if any single item inside it is replaced, it has to re-render the component again. So the idea is very simple. You have to wrap every component inside this little view, and you have to wrap every state store inside this little store function. And it doesn't matter where you have your stores. Like this one is a global store. You can do global state this way. If you mutate the global state, everything that uses that piece of global state will be updated. And then again, you can just define stores locally as component properties, and this is very similar to React state. The only difference is that you can mutate this directly, and then when it is mutated, it will know when to re-render and when to not re-render. You can do all sorts of crazy stuff with this. And so to sum it up, the base idea is that you can just do basic JavaScript. It doesn't add any features to the language like reducers or actions and this kind of stuff, but you can do anything. It doesn't add restrictions either. So you can do anything that you would do with normal JavaScript. And I would like to play around with some patterns that I have seen people use with this freedom in the second half of the stream. So let's do coding now. I forgot what I did. So again, this one is open source already for state management. I am still working on the router and platform integrations. So yes, I wanted to do the protected route here. And for that, oh nice. Okay. But actually I am having difficulties documenting this correctly because it's hard to really get the message through, because usually people use Redux, and this is very strange for people. For Mobax people it's not so strange, but for Redux it's very difficult to accept this. So let's get to the app, and here we have the little router, again from that stack, and we would like to add a little interceptor here. Everything is little, apparently. So we have an onRoute, and the onRoute should be a function. This can be an async function, but for now it will be a sync one. And it gets a few parameters. I'm going to distract them right away. It has front page and to page. I don't think I will need the front page here. I will need the to page definitely, and I will need the prevent default. Again, that's pretty important. And if I check that if the to page equals product, for now that's the only protected endpoint, so it's pretty simple to do it like that. I don't know if I want to hard code protected endpoint handling in the library. For now I chose not to do this because you can very simply do this with so I would like to have a minimalistic interface that allows you to do this. For example, in onRoute you can do a lot of interception related logic like protected routes, and then I have resolve where you can do lazy loading, code splitting, resolving data for routes and these kind of things. So I like this grouping things in just a few functions. So if the to page is product, I would just want to call prevent default. And let's see what happens now. Oh, this is not okay. And not I forgot the important part. And we are not logged in. Then we want to prevent default. Okay, let's get to the page. Super slow loading. You see we are not yet logged in, and if I try to go there, it just doesn't do it. Which is not super nice UX. It doesn't let me in, but it doesn't tell me anything either. So we have to smarten that up a little bit. One thing that I noticed was that we still have this little button here. We shouldn't have the button here. We are not allowed to add new to-dos. So let's just change that for the first part. Again, we need to check. Let's just do it the dirty way for now. We are going to do refactoring soon. So this one, the whole thing should only be here if App Store is logged in, is true, and otherwise I don't really care about this thing. So again, this one is done. And one thing to decide is what to do in cases like I demonstrated before, when you want to go to a protected route, but you're not allowed to go to the protected route. What I just did with prevent default, it just stops the routing and nothing happens. Another thing that I could do is to route to the login page instead. I think I won't do this for now. I think I will do a little notification. So let's make a new component, because this way I can, this will be a lot clearer than just modifying existing code, I think. So we are going to need React from React, and we are going to need, this one will be, hi, it's nice to see you here. So this one is going to be a pure state management thing. So this one you can already do at home. React easy stack, but of course you don't want to use React easy stack for now. You will use React easy state. It's only me then. And this is some new pattern that I am playing around lately. We are going to export a function that's called notify, and we are going to export default React component that's wrapped inside the view, and that displays snack notification, snack bar maybe. I have to check how it's spelled, because material UI snack bar. I really have to get over to the material UI page. Oh, this is not that. And I don't know. Actually, I'm a bit tired now. I had to wake up at 3 a.m. or even 2 a.m. in the morning. So, but I will try my best. I still enjoy it. So. Let's check if how to do snack bars. So this is the code for it. It's a simple snack bar. So this is a snack bar that I am talking about. I'm pretty sure you are familiar with this. We will do a very simple one. And it should be, yes, the casing is good in my case. I know it doesn't matter, it's a default export. I just want to have it in the official way. And I'm going to need auto hide, open, and for origin. I won't need half of these. Message is important. So auto hide on close, open, not this one. Message is important. Okay, and the last thing that I will need is a hidden store. Let's call it notification store. I won't even export this. This one is hidden implementation detail. And it has a message and it has an isOpen, and that should be enough. And it should be false. And as you can see, this store is not a property on the component. This one is a global store. So every single notification component will share this exact same global store. And I will just finish the file now, and then you will get the idea, I think. Open will be store.notifications. Oh, I gave it a very long name. Actually, I plan to rename store to create store. Maybe I will do an issue about that, because I hate it that I want to call this one store, but there is another store and I don't want it to collide because it's confusing. Okay, on close, I will just call close notification. And so this is just pure JavaScript. You are not doing anything fancy here. Close notification will be, probably some of you already guessed it, it will be a function that just does notification store that is open equals false. And just to be nice, I think I will also, because this makes it more robust, I will also reset the message. Somewhere I have a mistake because it's not prettifying, but we will see it in a sec. Oh, it's probably here. So the message should be notification store dot super long name dot message close notification, and this auto hide duration is basically, it tells it that after 3 seconds just hide the thing. And if I would like to make this generic, I could just proxy the props from outside here, but I will just let it be as is. I don't know, this is just an idea. I will definitely do an issue about it, but for me it's getting annoying that these are not create something and create something. So if I'm renaming the store, I would probably rename the view too, but it's not that important actually. We will see. I don't want to do breaking changes just for fun, so it won't happen for now. So we have the close notification and we are very close to finishing it. We just need a message in the notify, and here again just JavaScript, but this one is imported. Have a message here, and isOpen should be true here. And now we have a hidden notification store. Whenever something mutates here, every single component that uses the store mutates and uses the same piece of re-renders, sorry, and uses the updated same global piece of notification store state. And you have this little notify, and this is how you can mutate the store here. So basically, in the end, you have a single notify function that you can call, and calling notify will pop up every single every notification where you have notifications in the page. Obviously, I will only have a single notification, I think. So I will just go to the app, and I will import notification from notification, and let's just, this is the perfect place to add the notification component. And where did I want to notify? I wanted to hook into the global routing, and after prevent defaulting, I want to say that I want to notify users. So we are going to import the named function notify here. I want to notify users with a message that please log in to see the product page, I guess. And let's see how it plays out. Notification is not defined. Perfect. Because I can't type. Need some time to reload. So I am not logged in now, and if I click here, I can't click here, and it tells me that, oh, I am not logged in, that's why it doesn't do anything. So this is just a nice little UX addition, and we made a very generic notification component. It just stays at the very bottom of the application, and whenever I call notify, so I could call notify from anywhere inside the app, and it would just pop up as the notification component and display the message for 2 seconds. So let's just tick that thing. It works now. And what to do now? Let's click around. So again, it has this little global store, it has an exported function, and it has an exported default component. And whenever anything inside this hidden global store is mutated, every single component that uses that store is updated to reflect that. I will do the same thing with the loader. I start to like this pattern recently a lot. So let's get back to the app and let's see what we have here. Let's go to the Flash. I'm just clicking around to see where we have like some UX issues. Okay, and I already see one. So we go to admin.com. By UX I don't mean the styling now, I mean it's probably UX is not the best name for this, so I want to make it as robust as I can make it, so I won't let people to go to the protected endpoints without permission. It's not a security thing here because the backend is secured anyway. It's more like a user experience thing that I don't want anyone to go to a page and think that they can do stuff there, and then at the very end when they fill the whole form realize that, oh, I am not logged in, and to submit the form I have to be logged in, and I have to click on login, and I will lose everything that I just typed. So let's just log in here, and the issue is that if you go here and you log out now, and you shouldn't remain here because this one is a protected one. So let's go to the navbar where we have the logout, and what should we do on logout? We should definitely do a routing here. For first, we could just say that on every single logout, we want to go to the, I wouldn't say I want to go to the login page because, hey, the user just logged out, why would they want to log in again? So obviously we can stay on the protected page. So in this case, we only have a third option. So probably it makes most sense to go to the default view. But again, so let's check this solution first. Maybe less coding heavy now. So we have to log in, admin.com, and again admin, and we go over here and we click on the logout. It comes back here. Let's say it's okay, but my main issue is that like if I log in here, if I log in here, finally it works, and yeah, it looks nice. Actually, let's keep it this way. So one more thing that works. No, one thing that won't work is doing this probably. So I am going to log in again, just to repeat myself. And this is probably the final case. And I will share this URL with someone who is not logged in yet. So let's see what happens if I start to go to the protected page. It goes to products. And it actually works. And I have no idea why, but probably we implemented it already. So let's see what happens in the routing. Prevent default. Oh yeah, because we have this little prevent default here, it won't let it to log in. And in this case, like prevent default, if we already have a page, it will just stay on place. But if we do not have a page because this is an initial routing, then it will just go to the default page. And if I would like to change that, I can pass in another parameter that changes the default behavior in this case to go to the login screen instead. And I think I might want to do that. Because it seems like a nice idea to actually even direct the user to the login page. So if I check it again and I load it with the ID that I have, now I wanted to share a product editing with a friend of mine, and they are not logged in, so I share it, and the application is smart enough to tell that you have to log in to actually go to the page that is shared with you. So I think this is nice and covered now. Okay, what else we have left? We have a little login screen here. Maybe we should disable this button when we are in the login screen, or do not show it. I don't know. This is a very opinionated decision, but let me know if you would like to hide this or not. Okay. So one more thing is that if you are switching between stuff here, you don't have the little animation, and that's because by default animation is only triggered if you are changing between pages, but this one is only changing between query parameters. So, and as you can see, it's already working. I will see the code. So if I search for something, it's reflected in the query parameters. I can share it. Let's say that I want to have the little animation here too. So let's change the behavior there. And then after that, we are going to refactor a few things. It won't be so exciting. So maybe I will do half of the refactoring during live stream and then the other half just offline. So if you go to the navbar, you can see that this is the logic responsible for the searching. Let's just refactoring number one. Let's just call this search. So we have this search bar here, and this is coming from Material UI. When the user presses the enter, it triggers the on-request search, and it just gives the search string to the onSearch, and onSearch just does an on-place routing, so it routes to the products page with the search as parameter, and it adds a new history item. And just to follow along, the router is of course triggered because there is a new routing, and the product list page has a resolve. So before it is routed to the product list, it calls the resolve, and the resolve is fetching the data for the page. It might seem complicated at first, but because of this, you do not have these empty pages. And actually it works offline, it works for slow pages. I did a demo of that, but I don't think I will repeat it now if nobody specifically wants that. So if you check, if I search for something else, not ball, what should it be? It's too fast. I would need a way too fast. Let's just, so if you're not, because with React Router, people don't really do resolve. With Angular, resolve is pretty popular. So if you're not familiar with resolve, I'm showing the nice thing about it. So let's search for Rustic again. And kidding me. Why is it so fast? I think I messed up something. Okay, what I wanted to show off is that let's just remove this little timeout here, because apparently there is a bug in the library that I wrote. I have to fix that. I just introduced it before the stream, but now I can show it off. So the idea is that with resolve, because I am on slow 3G. The idea is that with resolve, you never see an empty screen. You always see something. So if I go to Rustic now, I have the old screen and then ball to play around with. And when finally the ball is loaded, or on the Superstore connection, it displays the ball. Apparently I messed up something with the resolving logic in the library, so after the stream I'm going to fix that, because I was playing around with animations. I plan to have the same stack for React Native and React, and for that I had to do some enormous animation hacks that I'm going to revert anyway, but because of that I just messed up something. So this is the idea behind resolve. Let's get back to the navbar. So the root is triggered here, it triggers the resolve, it fetches the data, the routing is finished, it goes to the other page. And what I wanted to do is to animate even when there is no page change. So this is the naive way of doing it. I'm telling it in the options that always animate even if the page is not changing. So if you check it now and I go to Rustic, it's live reloading at the perfect moment with slow 3G. So I tell it to go from ball to Rustic. You see that it has the same animation. Just ignore that step for now. We will. It does all this shaky flickering and these kind of things. We will get to there soon. And then we go to wooden, and it goes to wooden. No, the issue with this naive is that if I go from wooden to wooden, it still does that. They don't really want to do that. And if I log out and click on this, then it does not. That's nice actually. So instead of making this true, we should check if the search coming from the field is actually equals to params search. It does not equal. So only animate if the current search parameter does not equal with the search that we got from there. And if we live reload it now and check it again, see that if I go to fresh, chips. Search does not equal params.search. Should work. I have to check it now. Search params.search. I am not saying something now. So let's get to the console. Let's see, chips, perfect. Chips. I think it just didn't reload. Chippy, chip. Now it's on. Yes, it was an issue with the live reloading. So now it's perfect. If you like this kind of animations. So if I go to the login, it's animating. If I go back to the live reloading again, perfect. They didn't even change the code. So if I go back to the other screen, it does the animation again. If I go to, I don't know, fresh, it does the animation. If I go to chips, it does the animation. If I stay here, it doesn't do it. Wooden does. Okay, so that's about the animations. Maybe we could make it even more user-friendly, but for now I'm okay with this. Because you see there are still some, animation needs some more thinking. I think I will do it alone when I'm offline and then just present it the next time. You can do all sort of crazy things here. That's why you have this animate parameter if you are not satisfied with the default animation settings. And so finally, let's do a little bit of refactoring. So this is how I structure my stores currently. And I just saw a pattern that I liked a lot more. And I saw it from the users of my library. And what they do is that instead of having methods here, they just separate the actions and the methods, but still keep them in one file. Of course, you can do anything. You can keep them in one object, you can keep them in separate files. Whatever you can do with JavaScript, you can do with this. So instead of that, you just do export async function instead of the methods. So you will have a lot of named functions exported that can mutate the store, and you will also have the store exported that only has the data as the default export from this file. And depending on your taste, if you have a pure function interface and you do not even want people to mess around with your store without calling functions, you can just only this line and then you have encapsulated store. I actually prefer to be hacky, so I want to export the store too. And just to document things, I also have an is loading here. And for now, that's it, I think. Okay. And so the usage of the App Store actually changed. Whenever I do App Store, I also do import star as app, and I have the data on the App Store, but I have the functions on the app. And somewhere I like this more. So for example, here I do app, because if later I decide to hide the data, I can pretty simply do this. So here again I have app, and again I'm importing star as app, or the functions. Or you could just, import them by name, but this one is nicer. App Store, I don't have to do anything here. Here, I only need the app actually, apparently. So I import star as app and app.login. So there won't be any new features now. It's just a bit of refactoring to make it. I am learning how to use it. So App Store, I can just do is loading and do it here. So we are going to need the App Store and also star as app, import everything under the app namespace. And we are nerdy there. We don't need the App Store here. This one is a nice encapsulated thing already. It could be separated in a library on npm, and it could just provide easy notification for everyone. And here again, I don't need any App Store. That one was actually a pure component. I have no idea why I have it in a class, but okay, let's leave it like this and do another round when I refactor these kind of things. And here I have an app, and again an app. Sorry if this is boring, it's nearly the end of it. Okay, and here I have an App Store, and App Store it is. I don't have any methods. Let's see if it works. Okay, it does. So one more thing that we could do is that, because we already have such nice notifications about stuff that just didn't work there. So login, and I want to go here, and I log out here. Yeah, I will check why we don't have a notification here, and then after that we will add notifications about being online and offline, because it works. This one is actually an offline first PVA, so it works offline. So it's a nice practice to add a notification about being offline. Sorry, my phone is giving up life, and I have the comments on it. Never mind. So let's check why the notification is not working. Here on logout, because we do not have a notification yet. So what we want to do here is maybe to only path params. So just to match the paths, there is also the params. There is also path, which is an array that represents the current URL tokens between the slashes. Again, this is reflected. If you mutate the path array, you will actually see the URL changing, but I don't really recommend you to do that. But we can check if, kind of hackish, but it works. We can check if we are on the product page and only route to the login page if we are on the product page, because that is the protected page. And on top of that, we again want to notify the user with our super nice notification component, and now it really starts to pay off that we did this. We are going to call notify from a lot of places, and then it will just work. Notify the user that I think I will use the same thing that I used here. Please log in to see the product page. Okay. Yeah. So if I check it again, this is an edge case that we just missed, and I log in with the admin user, and I go to the product editor page and I log out. It doesn't go to the login page now, but it has this little pop-up that I should log in to, and maybe it should go to the login page then, and now it will be perfect. One more thing that I want to tweak, it was way too fast, so it should be 4 seconds. Reload it, and sorry for being so repetitive today, but that's how optimization is. So I come here, now it should work. I log out, it goes to the login page, and it tells me that I have to log in to actually see that page, because I just logged out in a protected page. It would be bad UX to let me smash the keyboard there and then realize later that, oh, I can't submit anything. And we could use notification at one more place, because we are working offline too. I could just add window.add event listener. Sorry if you are commenting, because I cannot see anything on my phone. Oh yeah, I will just finish these 2 lines and I will just sum up what we did today. So I guess there is an online event, but I will have to check it in a second. And again, on that event, you want to do something like you are online, just to let the user know that they are online. And here, this is the awesome part. We just tell the user that, hey, you are offline, but the app is awesome and it works offline totally. So maybe you want a guy who actually knows a little bit more about catchy text and not do this. And let's check the offline event MDN. I'm not sure that the events are called this, so I will have to check them. Yeah, online and offline events. And again, we are using the notify from our simple notify function and component pair. So here I am calling the notify, and it will just pop up the notify component right here, the notification component. So I'm going back here, and I will go to the network tab. I will, we are already logged in, so I will just go to somewhere, and then I will just hit offline, and it tells me that oh, you are offline, but still the application is offline first, so you can do anything that you have previously visited here. It works offline. And when we go back offline, then you are online again, and then probably you would like to say something that you are offline, but don't worry, stuff is working, something like that. I will figure out a nice text for that, but not now. Quick question. Passing status props. This is very... I know that MobX, Redux, everything does this, having the container and presentation pattern. I don't think it's worth it. Again, you are losing out on testability, but and again, like with this pattern with so many global stores, you don't want to even try to do server-side rendering. So this is one thing that that you really can do with this thing, and it hurts testability a little bit, but I think it's totally worth it. I do have the boilerplate. I can just write JavaScript, and honestly, I might be unpopular with this one, but I don't like to test views. I like to test the model that is here, and I think it's important to test it. You can test it with plain JavaScript, and I also like to integration test the view. So let me show some, or even end-to-end test, and by that, like to do MVC, I'm just showing off some tests. So you know the typical test. I have something commented out here somewhere, but the typical test where you have enzyme, for example, or test renderer, and you are just making snapshots and expectations, and you are, poking the view with simulations and checking if it matches the new snapshots. With this, it doesn't matter what kind of container or what kind of pattern you use under the hood, because it really just tests the application from the user point of view. I think the container presentation pattern is nice if you would like to unit test the view, but I don't do that, and I don't think I ever will. I don't think it's worth it. So in that sense, it's elegant, but it just takes away from the development time. So I just like to hack it together this way. But you could do it. You could even do the provider pattern. I do not have this, with the context, I do not have this provider component on purpose, because I don't want people to do this store equals store and then, map state to props, or with MobX, you just do the inject and everything is in the props. I really don't want to encourage this, because I think that a lot of people think that this is the only way by default, and you actually have global objects. So both MobX and Redux, they are there to share global states. They are singlet and global objects, and you could just import them like anywhere. You could just do import store, and it will still work. You can do Redux that way. And I know that this one is a huge anti-pattern for some people, but I would like to encourage it because I think it's worth it for the simplicity. Just one last thought is that with server-side rendering, the issue is that if you are not injecting state with context and props, then but you are importing the global state from somewhere. You have a single store, and this one won't work because you want to have one store for every single user that comes to your page, and it's not going to work out. But again, I don't think this is a big issue. I have never seen a group who actually had a big application and migrated it to server-side rendering without having even way bigger issues than this. So if you already have a complex application and at one point you decide to let server-side render this, then you will have a lot more pain than just changing the global store pattern to injected patterns. I don't know if this answered the question. Because with this pattern you can, so this one is global state here, you can have stateless components. You are just not using props inside the components, but you are using the global state. For example, let me show you the what I wanted to product editor maybe. So most of my components are only stateful because I want methods on them and lifecycle hooks, but I do not have any local state. Like product list, this one is a class component. It uses a lot of the global state, but it's not injected in from the props. It's actually using the actual imported global state here. And I can just, you know, function, product, list. So I'm not using a lot of props actually. Okay, and it will still work. So this one just became a functional component, and then if you prefer that syntax even more, if you like to do arrow functions, then I will revert this, but you can even do something like, you know, this. This is the shortest thing that you can do. So these are all the same. Okay. And I'm getting a little bit tired now. So I will just fix this little error, and I think I will sum up what we did today, and then let's continue next time. Page result. I am just using some props here. Page result, props. Okay, now it will work, and now it's functional. Yeah, it will work. Okay, so I found an issue with the timeout. I'm going to fix that. And for the next occasion, it's getting together. We will do even more polishing. I will fix the timeout issue. We will optimize this for mobile. And by the end of the next session, hopefully this will be a super robust, offline first, mobile first, everything first, super best practices PVA. By best practices I mean from the user, the view of the user. So it will be shareable, it will work with history, it will work with slow connection, fast connection. You won't be able to reach any data that you are not supposed to do, so it will work in every scenario. So I think one more session will be enough for that. And thanks for listening. If you are not yet doing that, then I suggest you to read our blog. You can see if I'm live streaming there. And if you feel like it, you can check out the already open source part of this library that I am using. It's called React Easy State. If you would like to, if you don't like this hacky style, then just stick with Redux. If you like it, but you would like to wait for the whole thing, then just wait a few more weeks, and I'm going to release the whole thing. So see you next time. I guess I will do the next stream at the same time next week. But I still have one question. For Redux, I have to try. So with this, you can do the exact same thing that you do with Redux. The new context API is exactly like I guess you already know this, but so you could do the Redux connect. I never checked the connect source code, but I think that you could do the Redux provider connect pattern super simply with the new context. And you can do the exact same thing with this. So you can have, the idea is that there is no restrictions. If you could implement Redux without having to worry about re-renders and only worry about the state management with React Easy State. So if you prefer to do it Redux style, you can just use context, and you can just have a single global store and then pass it on from context, and then it works as you expect it to work. And then you have mutable stores with injected props. But if you prefer the immutable style, you can just put a little immutable layer over your direct mutations. And if you prefer everything that Redux does, then just use Redux, because will I use anything else? Okay, that's it. See you next time, next Wednesday at 2 o'clock UTC, I think, still. Goodbye.